Alright. Um, I don't think anything's working. I don't think anything's working, and I don't know how to use any of this. Oh, okay, welcome to my workshop. I'm just gonna... I'm gonna do things. And... yeah. I guess I'm really not going to, I'm not really going to try and make this anything too spectacular because I barely know if I have everything working properly. I really don't like editing software. I am not a fan. It never wants to work, and there's always some problem. Like, I go to do things in OBS, or I use DaVinci Resolve, and it takes forever to do something because, like, when I finally get, like, the motivation to do something, and then I, like, say, oh, I'm gonna go do this, then what ends up happening is like, I spend an hour trying to, like, make things work, and then they just don't work, and then I just don't care anymore, and I'm like, alright, I'm just done, and I lose all motivation to do the thing that I was trying to do. But that being said, I'm gonna do a live stream. Welcome. This is the live stream that you are seeing right now, and this is a game. It's called Rolling Line. It's from Gaugepunk, and it is amazing. It is a really fun game to play. It is not a train sim world by any means. As far as, like, graphics go, it's not maybe as realistic looking as TRS, but if you just want to, like, play around and you don't really care much about the graphics or the audio, then this is a really freaking fun game to play. I can attest to the fact that, like, I get bored with games very easy, and this one, I I don't get bored with it whatsoever. I'm always having a fantastic time. You can do whatever. Like there's literally no limit to what you can do, what you can build on these things. So this is the layout that I've been working on for like the past 6 months, and it's come a long way. It is depicting a fictional railroad. That's something you do in Rolling Line. You do like fictional railroads and freelance railroads and your own paper railroad, whatever. And it's very common, from what I can see in the Rolling Line communities, for the a lot of the players, they do that. They have their own little fictional railroad, and I decided to do my own. So it's a little glitchy because my computer can barely handle what I have built here. So for now, until I can do some upgrades, it's going to be kind of glitchy, but it's just if you got nothing to do, maybe hang out with me here a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can. I don't know. It's very glitchy, and it probably doesn't help that I'm running like a recording, streaming thing too. On top of that, it's making it even slower. But anyway, I am working on an actual informative video that's edited and pre-recorded, and not just my normal like ranting and rambling about basically incoherent talking and all that. It'll be a well thought out video about this exact layout that we're looking at right now. That will be coming out soon. It's just I have, on top of the issues that I said I had before with like not being very good with the editing software and all that, and like when I do decide to start editing stuff or recording stuff, like then I run into a problem, and then I don't and then I don't I spend all my time working on that, and then by the time I get to like doing the thing that I actually wanted to do, then I'm just like I'm no longer motivated to do it. So on top of that, I kind of have to. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, just a tiny bit, and so I want it to look right. I want it to. It's kind of been a big deal. So it's a video that I meant to put out now or been meaning to put out for like the last 4 months, since like Thanksgiving. In fact, I intended for it to be on Thanksgiving. The current version of the video that I have says, Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, or Happy Black Friday, something like that. So, yeah. But the what you're seeing here, what I intended to do with this was make a fictional railroad in a fictional country. The country is known as Northland, and there used to be. I had a flag right here, but the flag's gone now. It's still on the layout somewhere, but it's a fictional country, fictional railroad. This is like the northernmost portion that's modeled. The trains that pass or go further north of here are going north into Ironville, which is kind of like the northern, kind of more of a mountainous, more rural area where they're tapping into like the iron ore mining and whatnot. This would be like the more industrial, kind of like your Rust Belt city, kind of. It's Tilden, Fairborn, Lurgan Point. These like this Tri-City area right here is where all the factories and manufacturing are. This little branch line that comes off the main line, and then we get into the yard here at Waverly. Basically, Waverly Yard is like a support yard for everything that, all the factories and whatnot that are in the city over here. All that stuff is collected, sorted out in this yard. And then there's an engine facility down a little ways here. I've worked on painting these engines as well. My skinning skills are very much not quite there yet, so I'm working on that slowly but surely. Okay, so here's something. I made this logo for the GM&S. Let's scoot a little bit closer to it. All right, hold on real quick. Let me do this. This might be easier. I think, let's see. You know what? Before we do that, I got an idea. Okay. I do have a point that I'm going to get to here just in a minute, as soon as I can. Gosh, it is very glitchy. I am so sorry. Let's see. Let's set the scene here. Just, yeah, maybe a little bit darker. Yeah. Okay, just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to go back over here, and then I am going to, let's see, C. Okay, because this looks a lot better when you do it like this, and it's just not as, it's supposed to be set up so that you can, like, kind of see. There's a lot of junk around here, like little paint cups and all that, but, that'll all get cleaned up eventually. Okay, so I made this logo for the GM&S. These are a little bit closer on it here. I made this logo for the GM&S, and it was, kind of like, I was basing it a tiny bit on the Sioux line. Just, if you, like, remember, like, the Sioux line logo that kind of had that little square around it, that was kind of my inspiration for it. And it's sort of like, that's the new image, the new logo of the railroad, and then the older logo is the one behind there where it's just it's actually spelled out. And I'm kind of on the fence now, because I like this, but I also do like this a lot. So I don't know if I need to maybe combine that somehow or something, or if, like, GM&S on the side of these engines is a lot better. Okay, if you are somebody who knows a lot about skinning, I would love some help, because some of these engines, like, what am I doing wrong here? What did I do wrong? Is it something that I did wrong with this? There's no, like, texture to it compared to, let's say, this one, where it just, for some reason, seems like there's a lot more texture. Maybe I'm not doing something. The color seems more vivid. Yeah, I did some weathering. It looks like, the idea of this one right here was supposed to be like, the engineer or someone was, like, wiping it off. Like wiping the dirt off of the number for some reason. Yeah. But, it's just kind of a start for me right here, and maybe that's, yeah, okay, so here. This right here, like, see how there's this, like, dark panel? Like, why? Why is there a panel that's, like, really dark right there? I don't get that. The ST40 that I have is even worse. But, yeah. Let's see. Gonna back out just a tiny little bit here. So this right here is the engine facility. It's got all the oil slicks and whatnot around there, and man, what the heck is going on out there? Oh, I did do some tree work earlier today, so there's that. That could be a whoa. Sorry. I'm doing things that I shouldn't be doing. I'm touching things that I shouldn't be touching. There we go. Okay. So that's Waverly Yard. It's like it's sort of the northernmost point of the middle district of the GM&S. And then, of course, it goes on to the northern portion. Oh, yeah, so I also made... Rolling Line has so much that you can, like, mess around with, and there's a whole, like, let me get out of this real quick. Okay, that maybe that's a little bit better. That was Rolling Line. You can do everything. Like, here's my thing. So TRS, I really liked TRS because I like to build routes and whatnot. And while maybe there's a lot of good stuff, or I could like make my own 3D models or whatever, it's just I can't. It just doesn't feel like I feel so restrictive with TRS anymore. I tried playing it recently actually, and I really like Rolling Line over TRS. I think Rolling Line is onto something with the fact that you can do like 3D modeling and all that stuff like in the game. I think that is going to be a game changer. If Rolling Line were to take what they already have going on and like maybe make a more realistic train sim out of it, like maybe add some texturing and all that, like they will. And there's actually some really good routes out there right now. Cass County, I showed a video of that recently. Very much like there's so many cool things you can do, but you can make things look very realistic. However, the game was not meant to be super realistic looking. It was supposed to be more like Roblox or Lego in a way. It's supposed to look low poly, which is why these trees look the way they do. And still, I really like it. I have a lot of fun with it. So here, look, we got a few trains running on the layout. This is something I just did today. I had a backdrop, but I went ahead and I made this tree line right here. It's kind of hard because I got this lead or this siding track on the far side, which was meant to store cars on, but it's super close to the edge, and I for a while I didn't want to mess with it, but I think this will work out with the tree line. It's going to be a little bit in the way, but it won't matter like functionally to the game, I don't think. Okay, so there's a mail train. This would be a mail train heading south towards the big city. Not depicted on the Middle District layout that I have here, but this would be an example of a mail train. And by mail, I mean it's these are all like, this is the junk mail stuff that's moving. Really hot priority train. Another thing I did. Okay, so there's a caboose on the train. Why is there a caboose? It's, a very modern looking layout, right? Well, hey, this is Northland, and in Northland, there's a law that requires a caboose to be on the rear of the train. So that's another reason why I decided to just make my own fictional country up. That was part of it right there. I have a couple cabooses too, I'll show you. Getting back to rolling lines, like, you can do so many things in it. One of the things you can do is you can make up like a switch panel, and you can actually control the switches on the layout with it. So like, let's see here, what's something that I can get? Okay, like one thing in Rolling Line that would also be very helpful, I think, is to make it more PC friendly, because I think a lot of people play on the PC. And it was meant to be a VR virtual reality type game, but I think it's way more fun on the PC. So like, yeah, there's a switch right there. It's currently lined, the lever's currently lined towards us, but then I can go over here. I can press the button. Boop. And then it should be lined away from us now. So it works. It really does work. Got sort of like, so, as is the case with a lot of industrial age, is railroads have reduced the size of their yards, whether that's because of efficiency-ish, through like some kind of efficiency thing or whatnot, or because it just wasn't needed anymore. Same is true for the GM&S. The GM&S had a much larger rail yard here at one point, and they did not need this, so they abandoned it. And it's now just growing with a bunch of trees and whatnot, foliage. Yard office right here, still in use. This is the main crew office at Waverly Yard. Conveniently in walking distance to the engine shop, so they can go grab their power and go about their switching duties. This would have been a much busier yard at one point. The engine facility would have been much busier with a lot more, big engines and road power. However, what's happened over the years is most of the trains that come through here will make their setouts and pickups, and then proceed onwards. And then a lot of what you see here at Waverly are these switch engines, which go out into the yard, put their trains together, and then go service industries within the city of Fairborn, Tilden, Lurgan Point, whatnot. I feel like a lot of what I'm going to be doing on this live stream is touching on things that I will eventually touch on in the video, so it's probably a lot of repeating myself, but if you wait and you want to watch the video because you don't, I'm talking incoherently or whatever, maybe wait for that. But Tilden, let's see here. So this right here is the other side of the yard. Car shops right here. Car shop kind of leads back into, this is either going to be more car shop tracks right here, or it possibly could be like a little transload facility. I'm not sure yet. This track right here should have a steam engine on it, but I did clear off all equipment recently, so that was part of that, and it's gone now. But there was a steam engine meant to be like a museum piece. And then you have the main office of the GM&S right here. Oh, there's that Northland flag. I did no research to see if this flag is actually a flag that's used in a real country or not, but for now that's the Northland flag. So main GM&S office. This is, I would say, their operational office, like their operating headquarters. Maybe not necessarily the corporate headquarters, but you'll learn more about why, what's going on with this railroad in that next video that I do. I did my best with all this stuff to... Oh, here we got a local train coming through right now. Okay. So, let's see here. So one thing is that I kind of like, because it's a fictional country, obviously, you're going to have your own signage, road signs and signaling and whatnot. So I went ahead and did that. This is, if you haven't guessed, if you're familiar with Rolling Line, these are the New Zealand crossing signals. However, I went ahead and added these barriers, you could say, these little cylinders for the black and white striping. So that is the Northland railroad crossing signal. That's the standard. And that's what you're going to see on every railroad crossing. Okay, so we talked about the Waverly Yard. This is the highway right here, and then we come to Tilden Junction right here. Tilden Junction is a industrial branch line beltway that ties into the main line and then heads to Lurgan Point through Tilden, the Tilden industrial area. Some apartments over here. Something that I am working towards as best I can is to not use pre-made structures. I was trying my best to make everything as custom as possible because that's the thing is these buildings are not you take shapes and you stack them together and then you can add little details, and these details are default in the game. You just pull them out and use them. You can repaint almost anything in this game can be repainted, recolored in the game at any time. Trees, especially, the trees all start out at kind of a green color, and you can repaint the trees whatever color you'd like. I went ahead and have done a major overhaul of this. You're going to see that this portion here it is based in the fall. I've done a little bit of recoloring so that we have a more toned down look. Yeah, so you got these roads that lead through over towards the intermodal facility. Tilden Junction here, we'll talk about the intermodal facility, and then we'll go back and I'll show you the industrial branch. Got a little city area here. It's trucks moving around, traffic lights, and then we've come across the intermodal facility here. That is, there is a name for this because I do have a map, but I don't remember what the name of it is at the moment. Hold on. I hand drew a map originally. Maybe that will tell me. This is, I think Elgin. I think this is Elgin. Is the name of this area here, but this is the intermodal facility for the entire region of the Fairborn metropolitan area. As you can see here, it's kind of on the edge of the lake. Containers, and you also see the white trailers here. These are the mail vans that are going to be shipped out on a train. Got an engine parked over here right now. I have been trying to stick again with as much default stuff as possible. Now that's for another reason too, which is the game itself gets a little glitchy and slows down the more mods you have. So I've been trying to use default stuff as much as possible because until I upgrade my RAM, it's gonna be a little tough. So I recall these as a child. These single axle cars that were built by TTX, they were called front runner cars, and they were used in the United States as a way to reduce the weight of truck trailers, intermodal trailers. They were super lightweight, which was really great, except when they were empty. And then they were too light because, American railroads, they have a problem with super lightweight cars because a lot of the stuff's big and bulky and heavy, and these cars had a lot of trouble, especially when traveling over snow and ice. They were eventually, I believe, banned on many railroads, especially during the winter and stuff, and you could only haul them on the end of your trains, the rear ends, and never during snowy weather, and you could never haul them empty during snowy weather, I guess is the... So anyway, the story behind this is that these cars did not perform well in the United States, where things are much more open, and Um, they were in a less controlled environment, I guess you could say. But in Northland, they've worked out quite well. They were purchased from the United States, imported, as the United States was phasing them out in the early 2000s, late 90s, and they are used specifically to haul the mail. And that's their only job. Again, they're called front runners, I believe. But that's what they're doing. They're here, they're getting loaded with mail cars, mail vans, and then being shipped out. And then the container cars here, that's your, standard, you know, import goods come in, and then they are transferred up from... There's one big intermodal port down in the south of the country, in Seabrook, the big city, and they come up here where they can be offloaded. There's another one that'll go all the way up to Ironville with, supplies for the northernmost communities. We'll get into some of the other things too along the way, but the crossing, the signals here, the actual railroad traffic signals here, they actually do work, and when you configure them properly, you can actually set up stuff like interlockings, which I have here. So if a train passes, like that local job or something's passing on the industrial branch, train traffic on the main line will stop and wait for it, vice versa as well. So we got a couple facilities here. There's a little branch line here that's going over to a scrapyard. At some point maybe this line went a much further on, but then the scrapyard, it stopped here at some point, and now the scrapyard uses both sides and just took the whole thing over. We got super old railroad crossings here. Look right down the middle of the road, just like that. That's, something you might find here in this country of Northland. We got Firestar Motor Company, Northland's big automotive manufacturing company. It's their they build vehicles that are sold in Europe, in South America, our big markets, as well as here in Northland. They also sell to Greenland and Iceland. Lots of we got two plants here. One is the engine plant, and then the other is a stamping plant. So we're going to be getting, the box cars in here for the engine plant, bringing in the parts, and also transferring the engines over to the assembly plant. Coil cars can go into here for the stamping products. I guess I should probably add another track onto here so I have a place to load the box cars up. And alternatively, though, the story could be that, they just transfer the finished parts over by truck or something too. There's different ways we can go about that. We've got, I believe this is a, I think it's a warehouse, but it had a purpose. I think this is supposed to be a cold storage facility. Lumber, paper, that's all big industry here in Northland as well. There's a Swanson Paper Company. These are all custom fictional companies here. We got the Conley Packaging Company. They make cardboard boxes and whatnot. They got a couple. No freight cars here right now. Again, I told you I had to clean the entire railroad of cars recently to mess around with some stuff. I went through a big rebuild recently. And we got a fertilizer plant right here. They're likely producing fertilizer, manufacturing fertilizer here for the big agriculture land to the south. What was this, a chemical place? A plastic company, that's right, Plastic Unity Plastics. Right here, they're, taking hopper cars with plastic pellets and making different plastic components. A lot of them are probably going to be supplied to the Firestar Motor Company. Let's see, Cooperative Grain and Supply. This is a grain elevator, and this is actually a building. A lot of these buildings actually are, these are modded buildings you get off the workshop. They are all really amazing. And, it's just there's going to be a combination of this and some default stuff now. It maybe down in the future though, I go through and I do actually uh, get a lot of or change a lot of this stuff over to um, custom built structures. That would be a great that would be a goal of mine, because you can do a lot. You can do a lot with this game, but this is a good way to kind of get it started and all that. I'm gonna step away just for a minute. Testing, testing. Hello. Okay, I am so sorry about that. It was getting dark outside, so I had to turn a light on and a couple other things. So now I'm back. Man, I am probably giving way too many details about all this stuff right now, but this is the Firestar assembly plant, the auto assembly plant. Another workshop building with some different things here added on to make it look more like an auto plant. I am very impressed with people when they make structures, because they know how to get the all the exterior details just right, and I don't. Maybe part of that is because I'm not really I know you can take pictures and kind of use those as a reference, and I haven't done that, but that's probably why. But anyway, you got your auto loading facility right here, water tower. Then we move over to the Andrew Wise brewing facility. This is much more custom built, with default building materials in some just 3D shapes and whatnot. Andrew Wise is a large brewing company that produces beer. Very big building, very big operation, and they do they do a lot of stuff. They do a lot of they bring in the wheat or the barley into here into this yard. They offload it as needed, and then they can, store it in these silos. They can produce, we've got tank cars here bringing in some kind of like, maybe whatever liquid you might need for the production process, and then you got your box cars here bringing in packaging material, probably. Maybe they're shipping the product out by boxcar. I'm not really quite sure, but that's kind of the idea behind that. Is this facility is, well, I was really impressed with it, and these signs that we made up and all this is just really awesome. So eventually I will get this all down here. We got a truck with the logo on the side of it there. Coming around to the other side here. This is the lakefront area at Lurgan Point. You got a lighthouse, and then a big ship coming through here. I'm thinking these ships are probably carrying like iron ore up to for the Northland Steel facility. At some point, there is a offloading site where they can transfer the ore over and then bring it into this facility to produce steel. And here we go. We got the steel cars. Got a train of... Sorry, my dog is doing something. Got a train here that looks like it's empty, ready to go back out. It's hauling iron ore, probably, itself. Got some gons here that are, bringing in the scrap and whatnot. There's, industrial switch engine here. This right here is a kind of a combination. There's a few things that are... well, it's all default. There's nothing here is a mod, I don't believe, if I remember correctly. These blast furnaces might be... I cannot remember. No, actually, I don't think these were. These are... this is all default stuff within the game. But yeah, Northland Steel right here. And then... maybe these cars are not carrying ore. Maybe they're hauling coke for the fire process, the blast furnace process, and whatnot. But so this track right here, the way this works is this kind of big reverse loop. You come through here at Lurgan Point. This is the junction. One line splits into the steel mill, and then the other one ties into this other track here that's just kind of dead ending right here, but this would be the other competing railroad and RailNet, the RailNet company. And then there's a big loop-de-loop that goes around, and then here's the GM&S coming back around. I guess in theory this scene right here this is the end of the scenery or scene, and then it doesn't really make much sense because it's just looping back around. It's functional, and you kind of do that with when you're building model railroads. That's what you do. But this would, maybe represent the GM&S line as it curves into downtown Fairborn, which is the big city, or not the big city, but the big city in this area. At one point, it was probably where the passenger trains would go into the city to a station somewhere, and then again, the competing railroad RailNet crossing right here. Yeah, so that's kind of what we got going on. And this is, all, again, part of the Tilden, Lurgan Point industrial branch line. We'll go back to where it ties into the main line. But here's a good example of how this automation thing works with the signals. So this train here is coming up. It's going to cross, and then it's just going to go outside the wall over here, do a little reverse loop itself. This train is probably going to get the diamond first. Let's see here. You'll see these lights are going to go red eventually as it gets closer. You would hope so, at least. And in theory, that's going to stop this train. Which, I know it looks like it's not going to, but it should here momentarily. And as soon as the train clears, then it'll proceed on its way. Oh, so I took one of these from the American Freight expansion pack from the workshop. Yes, he's going to stop right now. I took one of these from the American Freight expansion pack. There's a lot of like what they call in Rolling Line as vanilla cars, which are cars with no logos on them and whatnot. They're just blanks. And I kind of like them. I find them to be slightly less distracting for some reason. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but I took one of them and I did a reskin with just slapping the GM&S logo right there on it. And so he's going to start moving now. My thought process was is that at some point the GM&S needed more engines, and they purchased them from the United States and imported them to the country, and now they work on the GM&S. So former BNSF engine, now it's on the GM&S in a new country. You know, we see examples of that in real life with a lot of engines that, like, you know, leave the U.S. and go to South America. So kind of a similar concept to that. We can move further to the south now. We'll follow this train along. Again, we're passing through Waverly Yard. Right here we've got another industrial track. This is maybe this is the rail net coming through here again. This is a scene which was it was meant to be a certain thing at some point, but in a redrawing of the map, I did not put in where this route goes, so it doesn't really have a story quite yet. But you know, here we got a roadway going through here, and then got the 3 tracks crossing here. There's, you know, the lead, that pretty long lead actually, that goes into the yard there. A good long switching lead to not interrupt mainline traffic while you're switching cars. My goodness, these paint cups are laying there. That's not meant to be there. Sorry. You got the old GM&S Roundhouse right here. The old Waverly Roundhouse. Now very much abandoned. And this is one of those scenes where I really like just stuff that looks... I think it's very fitting sometimes, as, you know, just these old, you know, abandoned, forgotten structures. You find that a lot on the railroad. The railroads, they have a tendency to just kind of, once they're not doing something with something anymore, then they just leave it. And it will just rust away. And is a very a common practice on the railroads. So, you know, I don't know how these cars got here, but, you know, you can imagine, you know, at some point, someone, you know, they see that nothing's going on over here, and they drive their vehicles over and leave them, or whatever, you know. It happens. We got the Zeltop Distributors company right here. This is actually, there's 2 tracks that go in here. There's these 2 out here, and then on the back side there's another one that goes right inside the building. Another fertilizer facility. Maybe this is a chemical facility. I don't have a name for it yet, because it's one of like the first industries I put on the layout, and didn't really think much of it since then. The backdrop that I was talking about earlier, you can kind of see in the background here. The reason I don't like the backdrop is because this sky, this white area right here, it doesn't look right against the actual sky in the background. So we got a highway. right here. GM&S has painted their initials on the side of it. And then after crossing the highway, we come into the... this is kind of a bedroom community called Oak Haven. And then over here we've got, you know, a little small farm area here, small neighborhood, little river scene right here. I started at this point. You could kind of watch how my skills improved with Rolling Line over time, because I got a little bit more creative with like leveling and whatnot. So now we've got like a scene here that's got a little depth to it. That was something that kind of just came through the experience of doing all this stuff. And again, we're going to have to do something about this backdrop thing, but we'll get there at some point. I kind of, at some point, built this little dirt trail that kind of comes back over here. And my thought process with this was, you know, maybe at some point train crews... they don't make it to the yard for some reason or whatever. So maybe the railroad needed like an access point to get back over here, and so that's what they've done, is they've built themselves sort of an... I'm sorry, I know this stuff's going everywhere, but you know, sort of like a little bit of an access point over here to get to whatever they might need to get to. But then I later kind of reconfigured it, so this is actually a walking trail that's going to lead back to like a dock, a fishing dock or something right over here. So that's what that ended up being. But yeah, we got our bridge. We're going into the town of Oak Haven, and let's see here. Yeah, we got like a little church in the background there. Some more houses. The school. Another Northland flag right there. I hear like other countries, they say that they don't put their flag on everything, you know, not like in the United States where the flag is just kind of plastered everywhere and it's just always in your face. Here in Northland, I'm not sure, is this normal? Would it be normal in other countries to have their flag just kind of displayed like that? But you know. We got, let's see here. Got S-Mart, little convenience store. Little, maybe a machine shop or something right here. And then this is the little downtown area. Got like a record store. Oops. There we go. Record store and cafe, restaurants, whatnot. Little office building here. I think this is the Northland Bank. Yeah, this is the Northland Bank right here. Got a gas station right over here. This is one of those things where it's a combination of some 3D shapes and then props that you can get off the workshop. So that's what that's... Got these gas pumps and whatnot. Got the railroad crossing right here. And then a little trailer park. Right in here. Some people, you know, they live in mobile homes. For whatever reason. And I kind of figured, you know, here in Northland we'll have that same issue where, you know, maybe at some point the factories started to close in the cities and, you know, people couldn't really afford to live too much, you know, as good as they were before. So, you know, at some point, you know, they had to downgrade a little bit. So now there's, you know, trailer parks popping up. Not necessarily the best thing, but, you know, it does, I think, kind of emphasize like the ordinary, you know, what you might see anywhere. Everywhere is going to have sort of a low-income neighborhood. This is that. The trailer park leads into like a little bit of a dirt road that goes back into here. Kind of getting into some more rural areas now. We're leaving the city area and the suburbs and kind of getting more out into the more rural farmland area. We come to Turnberry. Yeah, Turnberry right here. This is the junction with the big RailNet East-West main line. GM&S is a GM&S is a north-south railroad, so the RailNet, they're a much bigger railroad. They're running east-west and cover a lot more territory than the GM&S does. Alright, then we got another highway overpass right here. We can kind of jump down to walking level, ground level. Kind of see this a little bit more in detail. So I spent a lot of time actually working on the trees and getting them to getting them in the right spaces, but because of my most recent like recoloring and redoing of the trees, now there are some trees that are like overhanging the rails. So there's a little bit of cleanup that's going to need to be done there, but yeah, so this is Turnberry. Clearly, GM&S is maintaining this location. A couple signal boxes. Just going to wait here and see if a RailNet train shows up. These signals are not very reliable to tell you if there's a train coming or not because, well, they basically just show you if the block is clear or not. That's all they're really doing. They're not telling you if, you know, something's like en route. The way that I've worked this whole deal, you see there's a really sharp curve right here. It drops off into the bottom or into like the behind the scenes area. Oh gosh, but into the behind the scenes area of the layout, and then it loops around and it'll come back around the other side and then reappear. Put a couple trains on here, and then using some of the automation tools that Rolling Line provides, I set up some delays so the trains have to stop at these points, and you know, for however many seconds. And what that does is kind of provide sort of a realistic train traffic frequency to this area. So at some point there will be, I do have trains. This is a live, like, active track. It will actually run trains on there. Let's see, you can go behind the scenes. I can show you behind the scenes here, I suppose. Somewhere there's a RailNet train in here. Oh, there it is right there. So you got a RailNet train. It's waiting to go. Oh, I tapped and I ran. Let me go back. We're lost. We're completely lost now. Oh my goodness, what did I do? Okay. We're somewhere over here. Okay. Sorry about that. This was not meant to be a professionally done video whatsoever, not even a professional live stream. No professionalism here whatsoever. My gosh, why can't I find what I literally just, I was just there. Okay. There we go. Sorry about that. So, yeah, so the rail net crosses right here. As you can see, once they start crossing... Oh, no, you can't see, because once they start crossing, you'll see here the signals go to red, and trains will stop and wait until the other one is clear. But, you know, I was really proud of this scene when I came up with it. I thought it was pretty well thought out. Again, remember the caboose on the rear law for the country, so that, you know, we have to have this caboose on the rear of the train by law. I didn't really have a rail net caboose, or I don't have one yet, so that's what we got for that. Let's see here. So then we go to another little bridge right here. So this was another little scene. At some point, the GM&S had a single track line through here on this old bridge, maybe. And then what ended up happening was they, at some point, realized, well, we need a new bridge, so they built another bridge, but it was not the original truss bridge that they had. So you got two separate types of bridges here. You can also see the line splits apart just slightly. And then we go over to the power plant here. This branch line right here. Again, I said some of this stuff is kind of messed up right now. Branch line that leads over into the power plant. Power plant is sort of a loop-de-loop. Got some farmland out here. We're getting into some of the name Midlands comes from the Midlands in Northland. The Midlands are kind of a flatter area in the country where a lot of agriculture and food is produced and grown. We've got another train crossing right here. Another train going to the steel mill, or ore train going maybe up to Ironville. Or maybe it's one of the, you know, could be coal as well. I haven't really sorted out all those details just quite yet. Exactly, like with how I'm going to use, like what type of equipment I'm going to use and whatnot, but, you know. You can see he's actually stopping right here, it looks like, so there must be a train crossing. Oh, maybe not. Oh yeah, there was just a train crossing there, so that's why he was slowing down. Yeah, let's move on here. Got a town here that has no name right now, but you know, just a little grain elevator and little facilities, warehouse of some sort. Come across another little bridge right here, and then we're gonna start kind of getting through a little bit of a mountainous area. Not super mountainous, but you know, it's hilly. Got like a little village in the background there. Use kind of the forced perspective style of building here. These buildings are all super tiny, but then, you know, from back here it looks like it's further away, or it was supposed to. We had to, you know, to work on that. Also, as you can see, so this is what I have changed the tree colors to look like. A little bit more dull, earthy type colors. This is what it was before. These really bright colors and all this. You're going to see that as we go into the remaining scenes going into the south here. Yeah, I'm changing all this. It's going to look a lot different quite soon. Lots of junk around here. My goodness. There is a one button thing you can press that will just clean all that up. Kind of got a road here that's oh my gosh, it's just everywhere. You know, this road has seen its better days and all this. I have this currently set up as a intersection, but I have considered maybe making this more of a curvy road that just kind of winds through here on sort of like a little bit of a grade. But you got a little grain facility here. Yeah, it's like I say, it's kind of set in like a mountainous area, a little bit more hilly, but make no mistake, this is a very agricultural area, and from somewhere grain is going to be delivered and stored in these silos. It's not rail served. This particular facility is not rail served, but yeah, it is there. And then got kind of a rocky cut right here. Maybe the railroad had to cut through a mountain a little bit to cross through here without building a tunnel. A little road crossing over top here. We're coming into this scene here, which is we're coming into Elsbridge, which is the southern terminus of the railroad, or the southern end of what I am modeling here. So got these this farmland scene here, lots of corn growing out here, and then we enter into a farm scene here. It is harvest time, and the pumpkins are out. We got the little farm here with maybe a little pumpkin patch and little hay wagon of some kind. People are here getting their apple cider and donuts and whatnot. It's set for that time of the year. Just over the tracks right here, we've got another little farm area here. These people probably own this little orchard in the background right here. We got the mail train coming through. Got the mail train coming through right now. The hottest train on the railroad. I promise the actual video I put out will be much better than this. This is just me, doing a live stream. This was an afterthought, definitely. I just decided to do a live stream. So, okay, so here we come into the town of Elsbridge. This is the downtown area. The rest of this layout represents Elsbridge. You'll see in a little bit here what I mean by that. But this is a bigger town on the layout, probably the largest town that I'm actually modeling as an actual scene. We got the J-Mart supermarket right here, and as you can see, we got this parking lot, another restaurant. Northland Bank, of course, is here as well. This is probably City Hall right here. Coffee shops, barber shop. And then on the back side here, of course, there's no parking out front. It's because you park back in the back here. There's a little road that winds down into the back. Maybe this doesn't seem as impressive, but this is actually to do different levels and all that and kind of get that perspective. That does take some doing in Rolling Line. So yeah, we got a little parking lot back in here. And that is downtown Elsbridge. Nice little city. Got a garbage truck here. That's a semi-truck tractor with some 3D shapes to give it a look like it is an actual garbage truck. That's kind of the, that's the thing, is that if you can't find it on the workshop, or maybe you don't want to find it on the workshop, you want to make it yourself, you can absolutely do that. In a lot of these cases, you don't need to go to the workshop to find something. You can just find it. That moves on to this elevator right here, and then well, let me talk about the gas station. So the gas station in the back here, this is the NOCO Petro Station. The NOCO, that stands for Northland Oil Company. NOCO is the big oil producing company in Northland, the only oil producing company. Northland is not a super big country, but they do have, one very large oil refinery, and oil is imported from the United States, and it is refined and then pumped through the pipelines to various distribution facilities, or maybe directly to the gas stations in some cases, I suppose. Okay, so moving on to this facility right here. It's not rail served. You'll see why that isn't the case soon here, but I really wish I remember this guy's name. I feel so bad. I think he did Cass County, which is a really amazing layout. This guy does some great detail work in Rolling Line, but he had a lot of these in a layout, and there was a few to choose from. He did this all using this is using all 3D shapes that are provided in Rolling Line. You could make this. This is something you could make in Rolling Line without using a single workshop or like added on item. He did all this himself using those 3D shapes. I do not have the patience whatsoever for that. So I give him all the credit for that. I think he did Cass County. I'll have to think of his name and credit him in the actual like document video that I do later on. But yeah, this is his facility right here, that he made, and I think it looks amazing. There's a couple more that I'm using. They look fantastic, and yeah. So he put them into a layout that I think was meant to be like you could just make a copy using the bulk move tool, and that's what I did. Made a copy, and I have now added it to this layout. Coming across here, we got an orchard over here, another farm. We come into, this is an actual grain facility. See what I did is I kind of used his example and tried to do my own thing, but it just doesn't, it's not the same whatsoever. But this grain facility, which will likely get redone in the future, this is a rail served facility. This is where a lot of those smaller elevators that you're seeing, trucks are transferring that stuff over to these bigger elevators, and then they're getting loaded onto rail cars to be distributed, sent to wherever within the country or to export. Another grain elevator right here, a little bit smaller. At some point maybe this small facility right here outgrew its capacity and built the bigger one, something like that maybe. We come to a building that I made myself here using the 3D shapes and all that. It's called Midland Produce. This is lots of grain gets grown in the Midlands of Northland, but this here is representative of another big thing, which is they grow a lot of produce in this area as well. And this is one of those facilities where they warehouse it and then ship it out by rail or by truck. And yeah, this is spent a little bit of time on this. The amount of time I spent on this facility makes me know that what was done with like this over here, this took this guy had to have at least a week at minimum, but this is what I was able to do in maybe one couple hour period. Not quite as good whatsoever, but yeah, using some of these boxcars that are much more old-timey looking, but my thought process of what that was, this is a foreign country. This is, a different country. It's not the United States. Maybe they don't have the same standards for equipment ages, and maybe the cars aren't abused as much, or maybe they just continue to produce these smaller cars for much longer than the United States. Questions that might get answered when I actually make the full video, but this begins basically the rest all the way to the end of the layout. This is the Elsbridge Terminal. This is the advance yard, as I like to call it, on the outskirts of the facility here, where trains are stored until they can be taken into the yard to be switched out, or once a train is put together, this is where it may sit until there is a crew or locomotives to move it. Elsbridge is a very, very big facility. It's a crew change point as well, so got some engine servicing here, but then there's also the primary engine shop, which is going to be over here. This is the main engine servicing facility on the GM&S right here. We got the very much inspired by the P&Le's Gateway Yard Terminal. Took a lot of inspiration from that when I built this large yard office tower control point right here. This is a very big facility, obviously very important facility. It is a hump yard, if you haven't guessed yet. There is, the hump is going over top of the main line, and then over into here, which is the hump yard, the classification yard. I have done a lot to try to use like the AI features and all that to get this to kind of work and function like a hump yard. It's a work in progress for sure. Definitely a work in progress. But yeah, the classification yard down here, again, at some point, some of these yard tracks were removed, no longer needed. We have a receiving yard over here. This yard right here is another big, long area to store trains. And of course, it's reachable through this little neighborhood right here. You're driving through this neighborhood, and then there's the entrance of the yard right here. Got a crew change point is going to be actually right where we are right now. The trains come up here, they will stop, and they will wait for several seconds. So yeah, that's the crew change point. And then got a train, looks like a grain train stored right here. Some old buildings and whatnot. Another apartment building complex right here. These are the cabooses. I think this is, so we got a very weathered looking bay window caboose, and then a couple other ones again. By law, in Northland you have to have a caboose on your train, so. We got some maintenance of way equipment parked over here. I'm sorry if I'm moving so fast. There is a lot here. We come to another grain elevator on the other side of town. This one's, seems to be a much busier facility. And then we move on to the end of the line. This is the south end of the line. We'd now be on the southern district of the GM&S, heading towards Seabrook, the big city. Some cars stored out here. Got lots of these cars. Lots of. I'm gonna just go ahead and say these cars they're built to just haul whatever. They're hauling whatever we need them to haul on the GM&S. So that might be coke, iron ore, limestone, coal, whatever. But yeah, so got this long siding right here, and then we disappear over into the behind the scenes area. And this is what it looks like behind the scenes. Once the trains leave the main room, they go to these reverse loops, and then they just do a little loop-de-loop and come back around the other side. And then, hey, we're right back to the beginning. See, this has kind of been my workshop for the trees and all that, so... yeah, so that's what I've got going on with the GM&S. I will absolutely be working on that video. It's going to be a while before it comes out, but yeah, I felt like doing a little bit of a live stream, and now that I've done that, I can, you know, feel a little bit more satisfied with myself for not putting out a YouTube video in a while, and I can now, you know, go ahead and wait another 6 months until I put out another video. So, well, thank you for watching. If you did, you know, you're a champ. If you watched all the way through, even more points. Yeah, if you want to see more, please let me know. Encourage me, please, because otherwise, I don't know how long it's going to be until I put out the next one. But I do want to put this on the workshop eventually, so, you know, I want the corresponding video to go out with that, so that we can actually, you know, I can actually kind of like explain, you know, how everything works, because I think it'd make it a lot more fun. But anyway, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. I'm not going to even ask for you to, you know, I'm not even going to ask for you to subscribe. Don't even worry about that. But until next time, here we go.